Okay, today we're going to talk about the digital dollar project. Now, this digital dollar project, some people are talking about this is great for crypto. This is awesome for crypto. You know, this is going to be the bear market. And I actually saw a commenter say this, and I thought a long-time subscriber, which I appreciate all of my subscribers. Thank you for being here. And if you've not subscribed and you believe in the future of cryptocurrency, you believe in the technology of cryptocurrency, and you're figuring out how you can get ahead in this world of crypto, be sure to subscribe to this channel, because that's the kind of stuff that I like to talk about on this channel. Now, I want to talk about this whole digital dollar aspect, and if you don't know about it, well, I'm just going to clue you in. Let me just say this. Let me start by saying this. I'm going to cover some content today for some of you that may be controversial. Other of you are going to be glad that I'm covering it. But I want to put this up front. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but however, conspiracies exist. And let me just let me point this out another way. If you were the leader of a country, is it possible that there are things that you would know that you would not tell the general public because you wouldn't want to create mass hysteria or mass panic? Is it possible if you were the leader of a country and you understood that things got misreported, that you would allow it to be misreported for the good of the public? Now, I say that to say that I do believe there are things that, when I say conspiracies exist, I mean that in saying there are things that the public does not know. 100%. But what people oftentimes do is they cross over this conspiracy theory land. And what I mean by that is they kind of create circumstantial evidence where there is none. They backfill the narrative that they want to believe in their own head. For example, let's just say that you're a police detective and, you know, somebody got murdered and there was a break and entering, they were robbed and they were murdered. And someone, you know, the police chief put pressure on you and he said, you got to solve this murder. Well, when you solve the murder, you can't really find anyone, you know, you can't find a real suspect with any hard evidence. But what you do find is you find that the next door neighbor had a friend over who has a rap sheet, who has already served time for murder and breaking and entering. And you happen to know he was without a job. And a few months before, he had gotten caught with having a illegal firearm. And, you know, and so he had a financial need. He has a track record breaking in people. He has a track record of murder. He's already, you know, served time for that, say in the past. And now here he is. He was caught with a firearm a few weeks earlier, a few months earlier, whatever. So you've got this crazy, and I'm obviously making this story up, but you've got this crazy situation where if you need to find a suspect, and it just so happens, you know, this next door neighbor's friend was visiting on the same day that the murder occurred, you could create a circumstantial evidence. You could create a narrative where it was like, hey, he needed the money got stolen, he has a track record, he has a rap sheet, he's a murderer, he's had a weapon when he wasn't supposed to have a weapon, but you can't find any hard evidence linking him to the murder. That's called circumstantial. It's possible, maybe even it's likely, but there's no hard evidence. And the only reason that you can even draw that conclusion is because there was a murder and you're working your way backwards looking for a suspect, and you're looking for all avenues for the suspect. And so you're backfilling the information that you currently have. And that's what a lot of conspiracy theories are. They see something, and I will agree with a lot of them sometimes in the fact of, yes, something doesn't look right, but what you're assuming has happened definitely doesn't sound right either, because it's only circumstantial. So I don't like to deal with circumstantial evidence. I try to find actual evidence when it comes to stuff like this. So let's talk about this a little bit. So the digital dollar, we got to back up to this pandemic that's going on, because something just is not right. Now, I try to be objective about this, and it's important for you to understand that I was, most of you don't obviously know me in my personal life. Some of you do, but most of my subscribers don't. But I've been a big proponent of this whole thing meaning protect yourselves, take care of your family, stay away from loved ones, social distancing. I recently did a public talk talking about how to properly use personal protective equipment. I have a medical background. I know this stuff. I talked about, you know, infection control as it related to this current pandemic. But I try to be objective at the same time. And I recently saw something, a news story, that really concerned me, and it raised a lot of questions, and it's well documented. The challenge is a lot of times news is regurgitated and it's not well documented. So I'm going to encourage you to, first off, if I were you, what I would do is I would come watch this video, and I'll try to remember to put links in the description. But this video is by Chico Crypto, and he's talking about the digital dollars, and it's a very good video. Let me just say this about Chico Crypto. He's very interesting. He has a great he has a lot of interesting content on his channel. It's very unique, and he's very I find some of his rants almost annoying at times, to be very honest with you. But what I will give him credit for is he's very good at connecting the dots on a lot of like news stories. Like he can take a news story from 2 weeks ago and then one from yesterday, and what he can do is he can connect the dots for you, where if you saw one and then you saw the other, you don't see them as being related. When you see them, you hear one played and then you hear the other one played back to back, all of a sudden you realize, wait a minute, this is part of the same storyline here. And he's very good at doing that. He does a lot of good documentation, so you're not going to get a lot of fluff from him. And he tries to keep his opinions out of it as much as possible. And it's a very good, let me rephrase that. He doesn't keep his opinions out of it. That's kind of what I don't like. But he bases his opinions based off the data that he's in news stories that's publicly available. You can go, and track down what he's talking about. So I would encourage you to watch this video first. And it's important that you do this. Listen, I'm going to give you some stuff to do so you can do your own research, because at the end of the day, you're responsible for your own family's financial security. And I'm going to give you my advice for my family towards the end of this video, but that's my family and that's what I'm doing. But so I encourage you to first watch this video. Once you watch this video, you're going to understand that there's definitely something going on here. And I'm going to talk about towards the end of the video whether I think this is good or bad for cryptocurrency, because I hate when I see people who just say, oh, this is going to be amazing. Get in now. Crypto is going to go up. They're going to create digital dollar. I'll talk about that in a minute. So after watching this video, you need to come watch this video by Ben Swann. If you don't know who Ben Swann is, he's probably he's a dying breed. I'll say that. He's a dying breed of independent journalism. This video is very good. And he shows documentation. In fact, he has a documentation down here, I believe, backing up everything that he says. So, where's it at? Let me see. No, that's Unstoppable Domains. This guy's clearly pro crypto, by the way. Brave browser. I don't see it. I don't see it up here. But he definitely references documents that you can look up in here, and he shows you the documents. I thought he had links in the description. But anyway, what he talks about up here, which is very fascinating, is how the World Health Organization is publishing data, but the media is quoting the data inaccurately. And he's basically talking about how this pandemic, based on the data currently, and he's very fair to say that, based on the data currently, and this is as of like a week ago, based on the data currently worldwide, it's not as contagious as they're saying, and it's not as deadly as the media is saying. And he shows you that based off the World Health Organization's numbers. And the essentially what he shows you is this. For the flu virus, they have suspected cases, confirmed cases, mortality rate. And when you see that the flu is deadly 0.1% of the time, that's based off of suspected cases, confirmed mortality rate. But when they talk about the coronavirus, they don't know the number of suspected cases. They only have confirmed cases and mortality rate. So for the coronavirus, when you see that it's 2% or 3% or 4% deadly, that's based off of confirmed cases and mortality rate. But they're not comparing it apples to apples. Because keep in mind what I just said. The flu, they're saying suspected versus mortality. Corona, they're saying confirmed versus mortality. And they're comparing those numbers. But if you go back and look at the data, if you look at confirmed cases of the flu, people who were tested, compared to mortality, based off that number, if you compare confirmed cases of the flu versus confirmed cases of corona and mortality in each case, you'll see that the flu is actually twice as deadly based on those numbers directly put out by the WHO. And when you see that, you got to start asking yourself, so what is going on here? Clearly something's not right. Why are we creating this mass hysteria? Why are we creating this mass panic? I don't know the full details to that, and I think this happens to be only a small part of it. But this digital dollar component, when you know that the digital dollar, some of you may not know this, but the first stimulus bill put forth by the Democrat side of the Congress included conversation about the digital dollar. And this is really, I mean, it's definitely on the way. It's definitely coming, particularly if you watch this video. He talks about that language being put in and then language being taken out. And you can't help but wonder, why was it put in first and why was it taken out? Are they kind of, I don't know. Anything I say is going to be subjective, and I'm just going to be guessing. But this video is worth watching. Now, with that being said, on this channel, I started talking about last fall about the repo market. So the repo market, and I'm going to connect all the dots for you here in a moment. The repo market, just to give you just to oversimplify it a little bit, the repo market is basically when one bank lends to another bank overnight. And the reason they do that is because they have a tremendous amount of basically, cash on deposit that's sitting there, and another bank may need that cash. So they'll lend money to each other essentially for very low interest rates. It's considered very secure, and it's typically just for overnight. And they get a little tiny interest on it. It's not a lot, but it's there, and it happens overnight, every night, and it's been happening, probably since we left the gold standard. 19 whatever. So with that being said, it's been going on forever. Well, the last fall, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the banks weren't lending to each other, and the rate is normally very low. Like I think it's like 2%, 1%, 2%. Well, all of a sudden it spiked to 10%, meaning none of the banks were willing to lend each other for any less than 10%. And you have to ask yourself why. And this article, even here on Bankrate, which is as mainstream of a financial probably news site you could get to, their article, one of the things they mention is the Fed. There's all of a sudden a huge disruption in the overnight market on one particular day that has caused the Fed to intervene for months now with really no massive increase in liquidity, says Dan North, chief economist of Euler Hermes. It's worrisome to me that there's something I'm missing in the banking system. Yeah, just if one bank is scared to lend to another bank, I think it's pretty clear, but no one wants to admit it. It has to be because they're concerned that they're insolvent. It is really possible, and that, again, this is circumstantial evidence because I don't have proof that a bank is insolvent. But what other reason would one bank not want to lend money to another bank? What's going on there? And so I think it's I'm forgetting the guy's name right now that said that first. I saw a YouTube video and I mentioned it previously. But here's what's happened. So they started lending money overnight, and I forget how much it was, like $15 trillion or whatever, and they were going to do it for 30 days. This was back in the fall, and then at the end of 30 days, they increased it. Now they were doing like 55 trillion overnight, and they were going to do it. They extended it for like another 30 days. Before that 30 days was up, they increased it to like 125 billion, and they said they were going to do it all the way to like March of this year. Well, earlier in March, they decided, or maybe January, somewhere in there, they decided, no, we're going to increase it again, and we're going to extend it. I think that in January, they said they're going to extend it to March. But in March, they said now they're lending $500 trillion overnight, the Fed is, to these banks. And the question is why? What's going on here? Now, it's important that you understand that that's not normal. There's a few things that's crazy. In the entire history of the American economic system, the Fed has never had to do that. Stop and think about the gravity of that. There is something not right. There's definitely something wrong. The Fed has never had to do that in the entire history of to that degree. The Fed's never had to do that in the entire history of the U.S. economic system. And if you come through here, they're talking about the Fed potentially doing it permanently, creating some sort of a overnight Federal Reserve backstop where, if banks need this money, the Fed can lend it to them. This has never had to happen before. So something isn't right. Now there's a stimulus package. And this annoys me more than anything, as how many Americans are, so, almost enthusiastic about the stimulus package. I think it's a horrible idea for the average American citizen. Most people don't understand that. All they care about is give me my check. And it's almost like they're being paid in short-term hush money. And it's really frustrating. It's really bad for the overall monetary system of the U.S. But if you look at the debt clock, again, think about this. In the entire history of the existence of the America as a country, as a sovereign country, we have gotten into $23 trillion in debt. Now, arguably, most of this happened after we left the gold standard, which is even more crazy. But in our entire history, please understand this, in our entire history as a nation, we've gotten $23 trillion in debt, total. Now, why is that number significant? Because They're putting out a $2 trillion stimulus bill in one stimulus package in one bill that essentially it increases our national debt by, roughly 10%, 8%, something like that. In one bill. In one bill, we're going to go from 23 to 25 trillion. Do you understand how many millions is in a trillion? I mean, do some math here. $1 million. How many $1 million is in a trillion? 1 million of them. That's nuts. And they're going to do that twice in one bill. If you don't understand, you have to go watch the video Money as Debt. I'll try to put it above in the link. I talk about this. I'll put it as a card above up here. I talk about this all the time, and people don't watch it. And I don't even understand how you're in cryptocurrency and you haven't watched that video. Like, you really got to watch that video because it's the greatest purpose. It's the greatest fundamental reason for a cryptocurrency to even exist. So why do I point all this out? Well, I'm telling you all this to say that I think that they're going to somehow try to reset the debt at some point, ultimately with the digital dollar, or what they're going to do is they're going to inflate the hell out of it. And I don't know what that looks like ultimately. And I'm doing more research on it. And when I find it, I'll bring it to you. So I'm in the middle of doing more research on this now because I'm trying to get, I'm trying to figure out what the plan is. Once you have an idea of what you think the plan is, then you understand, what you need to do for yourself and your family and your financial security. One of the reasons that I'm in cryptocurrency is because it's very clear to me this debt is not sustainable. And the only way that it's sustainable is to keep printing more dollars, which is in part what the repo market does. It's not directly reprinting money because that money gets paid back. But we may have a major bank that could be insolvent. One of the biggest banks in the world could potentially be insolvent. That could be what's going on. If that's the case, it's a major crisis. And what they're going to do, they're going to print more money, just like they're doing in this pandemic, which the information coming out of this pandemic is not exactly accurate. So you have to ask yourself, this is bigger than the U.S. The World Health Organization is part of the whole world. So you just ask yourself, what exactly is going on here? All I know is this crisis is being used to push a bailout of $2 trillion. And during that bailout of the $2 trillion, they're talking about the digital dollar, which they've been working on behind the scenes for months. There's absolute proof of it. Chico Crypto shows you this. So again, what exactly is going on? I don't know what's going on for certain. I do know that we're headed towards a digital dollar. I do know long term, is this positive for crypto? Well, it's the perfect use case long term. Long term, 100%. Now, is the digital dollar good for cryptocurrency in the short term? Absolutely not, is my opinion. No way. Why? Because if you understand the framework of the digital dollar, it's going to be a centralized blockchain. It's not if you understand the purpose of Bitcoin, it's because the biggest use cases or the biggest benefit is a decentralized blockchain that no one person controls. Now they're about to control the blockchain, which means they basically can probably just airdrop coins. Have you ever invested in masternodes or seen airdrops, and you notice that when they flood a lot of coins in the market, those coins lose value? A part of the reason people like things like the frag token, void, and bomb token is because they were deflationary tokens. Well, the US dollar is absolutely inflatable. They've been inflating it forever since we left the gold standard, and they're only increasing the speed at which they're inflating the US dollar. And what they're doing is they're changing how they calculate from one year to the next inflation. By the way, if you're not aware of that, you've got to look that up. So the numbers that we have on the dollar getting inflated just are not accurate. Again, if you watch Money as Debt, it makes total sense to you. So and here's the other thing with the digital dollar. I think the whole reason they're coming out with the digital dollar is because they know it's inevitable. They know that we're moving to a digital cryptocurrency. And so I talk about this on my playlist, Bitcoin to $1 million. And I'm going to add this video to that playlist. But I'll put the playlist above or at the end of this video on the end screen. But when you talk about the digital dollar, what they're trying to do, I believe, is co-opt the Bitcoin. They're trying to create a competitor, and they're going to win in the short term. Why? Because not enough people understand Bitcoin yet. And people still, for the most part, trust the Fed, and they're going to continue to trust the Fed until that trust is abused to such a great extent that, unfortunately, we're too far from that right now. Most the general public just still has a lot of faith in the government and the Fed, and so they're still going to trust the Fed. Here's the other thing. The single biggest thing holding crypto back, in my opinion, above everything else, is that you have to be personally responsible for your crypto. I mean, I've even had commenters on this channel say things like, Bitcoin. I had one commenter said Bitcoin's a scam. He said he was a veteran and he was retired and he had all this money in Bitcoin, and someone hacked his computer and they got his private keys, and he's just wanting help, and he just really ranted on one of my videos in the comments. And it's like, I hate to sound heartless, but if that happens to you, there's nothing you can do with Bitcoin. I mean, there's nothing you can do. Bitcoin's based off ownership of the private keys, which means that government can't take it away from you. Government can take away your digital dollars 100%. Government can control a lot of people with their digital dollars. The thing is, when you have US dollars in your hand, in your house, quote unquote, in your mattress, no one can take that away from you. No one can take. Oh, one more thing I didn't point out. This sketchy video. If you haven't seen this video, we got to watch. Listen to this. Why in the world would this video be put out unless the powers that be knew something wasn't accurate? Listen to this video. This is crazy.
We're living in unprecedented time. At a time of a pandemic like this, it is way too easy to get confused and to have fear about what you should be doing with your money in your accounts, especially as you're looking at the volatility in the stock market and the financial sector. This is what I would like you to take away from this. Your money is safe at the banks. The last thing you should be doing is pulling your money out of the banks now, thinking that it's going to be safer someplace else. You don't want to be walking around with large wads of cash, and you certainly don't want to be hoarding cash in your mattress. It didn't pan out well for so many people. And I will tell you this, no depositor has lost a penny of their insured deposits since
So no depositor has ever lost a penny. But, I mean, when have any of us ever heard of the FDIC even ever actually having to pay out on any large scale? They've never had to pay out on any large scale.
1933, when the FDIC was created. So if you're talking about having your money in a safe place, please keep it in an FDIC insured bank.
I mean, that just reeks of like desperation. Like, it's almost, if that doesn't raise the hair on the back of your neck, I don't know what will. I mean, that's crazy. What moron thought that was I mean, they know absolutely nothing about marketing. That wasn't reassuring. I mean, that's just nuts. But again, certain things are going on here. So what do you do? What's the plan? Well, I do think Bitcoin prices at some point are going to crash further, but in the long run, they're going to go up. So I still dollar cost average, and I still buy in. I don't sell like I'm worried about it going down because I have no proof that it's going to go down. You just never, it's really hard to predict how these things are going to work out. So for me personally, I'm absolutely still dollar cost averaging. And I think the key here is being able to assets. You want to be able to have as many assets, income producing assets as you can have. For example, if you own real estate, they can inflate the dollar away if they want to, but that real estate is still going to be getting rented at prevailing market rates. Home value, if you own like a rental property, that home value is going to go up at prevailing market rates. And at some point, the biggest strength to Bitcoin, and this is why I think the digital dollar is actually going to be good long term. This digital dollar is going to introduce an entire massive population of people, one of the largest populations in the world for a country, the American citizens, to using electronic wallets. And they're going to be transacting in an electronic fashion using a blockchain, even though it's a centralized blockchain. That is going to onboard so many people to the concepts of the technology that I believe when people get ready to rebel away from the digital dollar, and I believe that day is going to come eventually. It may take a while. It may take 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. It could be a while. But when people get ready to ditch the digital dollar, it's a far easier move to either Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency. Now, I specifically discussed this scenario in my Bitcoin to $1 million playlist about this potential scenario when you talk about the path or the road to mass adoption. I specifically talked about it, and I talked about it before anybody else was really talking about it publicly, meaning you couldn't find news stories about it. So this is absolutely one of the pathways I see to mass adoption. I see central banks coming out with a competing digital currency. I see people creating awareness using that currency. I see central banks succeeding in the short term, possibly even collapsing the price of Bitcoin or whatever in the short term. Long run, I see it, I see it going up, up, up. So what am I doing? I'm still dollar cost averaging. I'm still investing outside of cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is still a small portion of my portfolio, but the big thing that I'm doing is I'm looking to create passive streams of cryptocurrency. So I have, many of you know, if you've been a subscriber of mine for a while, you can subscribe down to my Crypto Passive Profits newsletter down in the description. That newsletter is all about passive streams of cryptocurrency that you can earn from sustainable businesses that will pay you to earn an income from doing all sorts of, basic things, certain services that you can use that they will just pay you small amounts of cryptocurrency to use that service, such as the CryptoTab browser, which I'm using right now. I've made hundreds of dollars with the CryptoTab browser, and I expect to make thousands and maybe even tens of thousands eventually using the CryptoTab browser, but that's only one stream of income. And there's 5 covered. There's 5 right now, and I'm investigating others all the time. There's 5 right now that I'm on my Crypto Passive Profit Strategy newsletter, and you may see more as you subscribe to that newsletter. But it goes even further, because inside that newsletter, I give you the opportunity to be able to join our Crypto Passive Profits course, and that course is all about advertising, creating affiliates. It's basically affiliate marketing, specifically in the passive income crypto niche. Now, we're not advertising for affiliates for things, I'm not teaching people to advertise for affiliates for things like dApps or anything that's sketchy. It's about true businesses, real businesses, not some sort of arbitrage trading bot that's going to crash and burn. It's advertising real businesses that are able to produce an income, and they share that income with their patrons or their customers or clients, whatever. And right now there's about 5, and there's not many of them out there, but it's about creating, teaching people how to market for referrals using various advertising networks. And that's part of the paid course. But anyone and everyone should sign up for the Crypto Passive Profits newsletter down in the description. That newsletter is going to show you specifically how to start earning passive income. Just this week, I think this is the best way to get people into crypto. A lot of people want to teach people about the technology. They want to teach people why the technology is good. They want to show them content like on this video, like, oh, you got to know about this. You got to know about this. That's a hard mind shift for people. But I think if you can teach people to earn their first cryptocurrency, this was common back in the early days. People used to pass out, crypto to back each other, at, conferences and stuff. They would send their buddy, a Bitcoin. And back then a Bitcoin was like 50 cents. And the idea was, now he has it, he's going to want to figure out what to do with it, or he's going to want to figure out how to cash it out. And in order for him to figure out what to do with it, he's going to have to transact it, and he's going to have to create maybe an account with an exchange like Coinbase or something, transfer it to Coinbase. See, I see a whole nother aspect nowadays. Get people to start earning Satoshis, start showing them ways to earn passive crypto. At some point, they're going to be like, oh, I got $1 in cryptocurrency. I got $5. I got $10. I got $50. I'm covering a topic on the newsletter now. The next video that I'm putting out in the newsletter is talking about one of these 5 that you literally, if you can earn $50 in a month if you want, maybe even $100 in a month if you wanted to. And I'm going to be covering that totally for free. And when someone earns money, if you show someone how to do that and they earn, even $5, it's like, well, how do I get it? Well, or how do I withdraw it? Well, transfer it to your wallet. Okay, so it's in my wallet. Now you just show them how to set up a cryptocurrency wallet. Well, how do I cash it out to my bank account? Because, of course, in the beginning, everybody wants to cash it out. So how do I cash it out to my bank account? By that time, you show them how to set up a Coinbase account. Now they've already completed. They've set up a wallet. They set up an exchange account. They're transferring it to their actual bank account. I mean, that's how I think we're gonna lead mass adoption ultimately, is getting people to earn. Look, the U.S. government's doing the same thing. They're talking about delivering the stimulus or a stimulus in the future to all Americans in the form of a digital dollar. Now once people have the digital dollars, they want to use them. They're forced to transact with them. That's a far easier way to onboard people than start telling people, hey, you should just start changing your habits. You should start using this new thing because it's better. And that's what a lot of people do with Bitcoin. That's not effective. So my whole goal is to be able to teach people to earn passive cryptocurrency. And by earning passive cryptocurrency, they're going to want to interact with it. They're going to want to withdraw it. They're going to want to use it. Who knows? They may want to leverage it and grow a real passive cryptocurrency, like a real income. Make $500, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 a month in cryptocurrency. How do you do that? Through affiliate marketing of cryptocurrency. Whole nother skill set altogether. But anyway, if you enjoy this content, if you believe in the future of cryptocurrency, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Be sure to hit that thumbs up. And if you want to earn passive income in cryptocurrency, multiple streams of passive income, subscribe to our Crypto Passive Profits newsletter. Thank you so much for watching. Do me a favor, down in the comments, I'm going to put this video. I'm going to put this video and, well, you can look that video up on your own. That's lame. And I'll put this video by this article by the Repo markets all down in the description, so you can have them to look at for yourself, to share. But I encourage you to read this article, watch both these videos, be informed. Once you're informed, you're able to make intelligent decisions. Listen, not one of us can change the world by ourselves, but we are responsible. It is our responsibility to provide for ourselves and our families' well-being. Thank you so much for watching. Talk to you soon.